Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series.
Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
Is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am so excited today to have Miss Tianna Soto here with me. She's the founder and keynote speaker at Stories with Heart. She's the former editor at Women's Health magazine. I am thrilled. This has been, for us, we've been talking about this for so long. She's sitting right across from me, and I absolutely love these opportunities in these episodes. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. And yes, we've been chatting about this forever, so I'm glad we were able to make it work in person. That's great.
Yes. For those who are listening, she's got her NC State red on today. We're both very proud Wolf Pack, and so
rooting for our sports teams always. Sending them good vibes today.
Always for our Wolf Pack. I want to get into this because you've had you've had an incredible career so far. You've been a contributing writer, an editor for a lot of different places, but you've kind of moved out of that sphere and you're now really into speaking, traveling a lot.
Yes, we are traveling a lot these days. You too, but oh my gosh, this year, was a lot of travel.
It's a lot, but I want to start with kind of what was the career risk you took that, felt really scary in that moment, but ultimately has really changed kind of the direction of your life and how your career is going these days?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's funny when I think of career risks I've taken so many at this point that I'm like, where do we begin? But I think broadly, like the biggest risk I took was leaving behind a 9-to-5 job to pursue entrepreneurship and doing keynote speaking. So I guess maybe it would help if I took you back in time to like how the career path unfolded.
Yeah,
so it's been a winding path.
Set the stage for everybody.
Yeah. So I just said, went to NC State, go Pack. I studied psychology and Spanish and was kind of on this path for a long time that I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be a psychologist, even thought about being a sports psychologist one day. I was like very fascinated by that. And I honestly still am. So who knows, maybe in a couple years we'll change our mind again. But I felt like that was the path for me. And if there's any psychology people listening to this, like it's such a broad field and there's so many ways to get to be a therapist in that field, but it takes a lot of school. So I did undergrad and then I went to graduate school for clinical and counseling psych in New York. I went to Columbia, which as a first-gen college student, like definitely did not think that was something I'd ever get to do. So really exciting. And then I was working and kind of meeting all of these really cool creative people in New York who were also multi-hyphenates. Like maybe they had a 9-to-5 job, but they had their own business on the side, or they were artists, or I had a lot of friends who were in theater, who were also authors and working in media.
It's like the epitome of New York right there.
And it really is. It's so New York. And I was like, wait, this is so cool. I don't have to just do one thing. And so I was working in mental health for a little while. And then I just started to have this feeling like there's more out there. And for psychology, I was on this path to eventually do a doctoral program, which is usually like, I would say between 4 and 6 years of school on top of my master's. And I was like, that's just going to take a long time. And
it's a lot of school.
It's a lot of school. And I, credit anyone who does it. And it's so great. But I felt like there was something else out there. And I remember working for this mental health organization in New York and kind of had this like out of body experience one day when I was going to the office, and I was in the elevator with people who were actually auditioning for Broadway. We were in the same building as this studio where actors and actresses would go. And I could see them like so excited and like so in their element. And I was like, oh, I don't feel that right now in my career. Like, how can I bring back that sense of excitement. And so I think that kind of led me to take a risk. And I remember thinking, I didn't go into theater to be on Broadway, but I, at the time, had met a lot of people who were in journalism. And I grew up in the Devil Wears Prada era. Really glad we're getting a reboot.
Yes.
So I was like,
I've never been more excited for 2026 to come.
Same. And I remember looking around and being like, okay, I got my theater friends, I have my media friends, and what if I can wiggle my way into the magazine industry? So I actually quit my job without much of a backup plan. This was ironically right before 2020. So it was a very interesting time for a person without backup plan to quit their job. And then the world shut down and I was kind of in this place where I had nothing but time on my
Mhm.
hands and time indoors. So I started writing and just blogging for myself and nobody else. And
Yeah.
then eventually found my way into the media world. So I started working virtually for a company called Her Campus Media. They have like campus chapters all over
Yeah.
the US, but I was part of their national team. And then things just kind of built from there. So long story, but it's I feel like it was a series of decisions and a series of risks.
Yeah.
And the biggest being like leaving eventually that 9 to 5 media job and
Yeah.
saying, I'm going to go out on my own and try something else again. So
Isn't it funny that you hear so much of that? I feel like it's our generation right here of like, we go into school, we go down this path and we go get this degree and we're like, let's go the absolute opposite direction of what we were doing.
exactly.
Because we get into it and we're like, we find that passion, we find that thing that is truly calling us, that we're like, okay, this is kind of what we're meant to be doing. Like we got, sorry, mom and dad, for the college debt kind of situation.
That's true.
But it's like we go through it and we find it. And it's like, I've never heard it more than with our generation.
Totally agree. I mean, I think we were fed this idea that you have to have a linear path and everything has to make sense.
Yeah.
And when you graduate school, you get a job and then you'll be stable. And all of that sounds really great. And you kind of have this sense of security in your brain. But I think people forget that you could take risks. It's okay to take risks.
Yeah. I think risks still scare people. It's so
For
funny.
sure.
People are like, risk scare people. I'm like, I think we're the riskiest people these days.
Yeah. And it is scary. It's totally scary. I mean, and even when I think back to the many risks I took in my career, whether it was like leaving mental health and going into journalism or, leaving my job and like trying entrepreneurship, people didn't really understand. They were like, what do you mean you're leaving your job? Like you have a job in New York
go
City.
very big.
Yeah. They're like, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
you
People are like, do we need to check you in somewhere? Like what's happening? What's happening?
Exactly. And it is scary, but then I think, I don't know, I don't consider myself like a very risky person in life, but I had a friend.
Change.
Yeah, change is so hard. And
I hate change.
It's like for some reason with my career, I've been like, yeah, we'll just like risk it all for a couple of years.
Yeah. Years ago was never a fan of change. And then I suddenly woke up like last year and I was like, I'm apparently not afraid of it much anymore because I just keep going through it. And that risk, I think you go through that exercise and you kind of shake it off you a little bit, I think is the best way that I can say it. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you go through it, the easier it gets too. You're like, okay, I can build my mind and body to a point where I can, bounce back if something feels hard, or I can move through change and not have it feel like my world is falling apart every time.
Yes. Now, you and I were talking a little bit about, in a different element, but perfectionism before we started recording. And it's often, rewarded early in careers, yet you've built your work around dismantling it. What was the moment you realized that what once helped you succeed was now holding you back?
That's a great, great question and way of phrasing that as well. I think that perfectionism is often, at least for me and for people I was around growing up, it's something that we strive for and we almost wear it as like a badge of honor. It's like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. Like I just want everything to be right and good and, aim high. And then at some point it really does hold you back, and it can be a hard like awakening to realize that that's actually not helping you all the time. And I'm trying to think of like the first time I learned this. I think I really learned it in college, to be honest. Like I was always trying to have all the classes and the majors and minors and extracurriculars, and I was like leading all of these different student groups and just wanted to be like the perfect leader and the perfect friend and partner. And eventually I just got super burnt out, and I was like, what is this thing that's happening right now? Like, why have I been trying to fit myself into this box for everyone? And I think that was one of the first times. And then like throughout my career, I think at the beginning when I was studying psychology, was very focused on doing things the right way and like doing the right path. I was like obsessed with networking and making sure I was the perfect candidate for grad school and all of this stuff. And then I realized I'm like, that, I don't know, it wasn't making me happy. It wasn't making me fulfilled. And so I think maybe those were two of the times where I felt like perfectionism was getting in the way. And of course I'm like a creative person, separate from my career and my job. Like I love music and theater and I grew up in that world. And I think perfectionism can also come up with that. It's like you want to be good on stage and know all of your lines. But at some point, sometimes it's better if you just relax and like get on stage and have fun with it, you know, even if everything isn't delivered perfectly. So that stands out to me too.
I identify very much as a perfectionist. I am like, it comes in different modes, waves, and different arenas. But I actually just read a book recently from a psychiatrist about the different types of perfectionism. And there, I was like reading through this and I was like, yep.
Interesting. Wait, I need to read this because I actually don't know if I know all of the different types.
There are 5 different types. And even at the beginning, like she has a quiz that you go through of all these different scenarios and you answer the questions. And then she's like, if you answered blah, blah, blah for how, like it identifies how you are.
Wow.
But it's kind of like when you do all these different tests of like, all these things, your wing, what, blah, 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 and everything.
Yeah, like personality tests.
Yes. You have like certain different, like you have different types of perfectionism that show up in different ways. So it's like you could have perfectionism here as like a wing, but you're really solely this type of perfectionist. And I'm like,
wow.
Like, this is really interesting.
Yeah, you're reading me to a T.
It was kind of one of those, as I had the book, but I was like, okay, I got to do this on Audible because we got to speed this up just a little bit because I'm falling asleep, sleeping in bed sometimes.
That's so funny. I need that after this. I need the link from you because I would like to learn what kind I am. I'm like, what's the kind where you're in the drive-through line and you're figuring out your order before you get up to the window? I'm like, what type is that in like projects? I'm like super perfectionist with work, like not in my personal life or anything like that, but with work projects. I'm like, this has to be really, really good.
Yes.
You know,
you want the best thing out there of yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You have really, move through psychology, research, mental health advocacy, journalism, and now keynote speaking.
Yeah.
At the time, did these pivots feel intentional or, did they only make sense in hindsight? Like, are you looking back and I'm like, oh, this connects now?
That's super interesting because I think of this often and I'm like, was I just taking leaps like without thinking about the next step or was I really intentional? I think it was honestly a mix of both.
Okay.
I really did. I'm like a person that operates off of intuition, which sounds maybe really fluffy, but if I have a feeling in my gut that something needs to change or that I'm not happy in my job or something, it's really hard for me to shake that. So it was intentional in that like every time I made a change, I was like, all right, I know the direction I want to head and I don't know what the role is going to look like or if I'm going to like it or how I'm going to figure it out, but I trust that that's a good next step for me. So in some ways it was like going off of vibes and intuition and intentional in that way. And I was also intentional, for instance, when I was moving from psychology into journalism, like when I tell the story to people, I'm like, oh yeah, I quit my job without a backup plan. But it wasn't like I put in my 2 weeks and had nothing in my brain. Like I had been networking with people in journalism. I'd been interviewing for jobs and trying to like work on my writing craft. And then same with speaking, like that's a whole other story. Like I became a speaker totally on accident, but at the time it felt kind of random. But then I was like, oh, I've been in theater. I've been on stage. I've been a storyteller.
Feels natural to you.
Yeah. I've like been a storyteller, but on paper as a journalist. And so like in hindsight, it definitely makes more sense. But in the moment, I do think the risks felt maybe a little more dramatic or big for me. I was like, whoa, I'm becoming a new person. And it's also like an identity shift every time, which for me, I think like, I always say this metaphor of a red thread. Like to me, there's been this red thread that connects everything that I do. It's very clear. Like it's service driven. I want to show up for people and help. And so even if it's psychology or if it's working at a women's magazine, like being a keynote speaker, the mission remains the same. So to me, that makes sense. But I think the way the roles have looked are all pretty different.
Everybody's like, what the hell?
What is she doing now?
What is she doing?
For sure.
Was there ever a moment where we've been talking about this when you realized like the traditional path, and I say this with traditional with air quotations around it, you were on kind of like it no longer fit. It was no longer, we were talking about identity shift, like it no longer felt like you anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm like, where to begin? So many moments. I like which moments throughout my life stick out when I realized that. Yeah. I mean, there was one particular time I can remember clear as day where I had just graduated from my master's program in New York. I, on paper, had pretty much everything I could have ever dreamed of, and was really excited to be in a new city and like have a master's as this first gen person. And I was so into this idea of like being a researcher and being an academic and like going and doing my doctorate program and everything. And I was working in a mental health organization. I was in the office and I had no windows and it was like really quiet and cold. And I'm sitting there like editing a PowerPoint or something, like something not relevant to what my dream was at the time.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I just don't feel like this fits. And I felt really sad about it in the moment. Like, no shade to the organization or like the work I was doing. It was really great there, but I just felt like something wasn't fitting. And I knew that something had to change. So I remember that being like one particular moment. I don't know if that answered your question. That's one that stands out in my mind for sure. I was like, oh, this is not right.
What am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's funny because I think we all have like this picture in our mind of, you know, we've been talking about, we've been on this traditional path. We went down, we had this idea of what it was supposed to look like by our parents or the generations before us. Yeah. And we get into this and we think of like, I graduated business degree. I'm like, oh, Mad Men situation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For
like
sure.
You think you're going to be in these places. And then my first job, I was working from home because of COVID. I'm like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm not in an office. Nobody's in an office. And it's one of those where I'm like,
yeah, absolutely.
This is weird.
It's weird. And
it's really
like,
weird.
You realize too that you're like, I don't know, I joke with my friends all the time that we're just living in a grand simulation. Like nothing is really, like everything's a construct. I know that sounds pretty out there maybe for listeners right now, but when it comes to career growth, like this is all just a story that we've been told that like you have to have a certain type of job or that your identity is woven up in your role or your title. And I think, you know, not to take away from anyone who does feel that sense of pride about their job, like you should feel excited, but it's not the only thing. And it's not like everyone arrived to where they are in this perfect linear way. Like that's such a lie. And if I could go back in time and like tell my college self that or any student, that's what I try to do now in my job as a speaker. I'm like, you're going to be okay. Like this is just a lie. And it's, people won't always understand your path too when you change and start your own business and all of these things. But if it feels good to you, it feels aligned, then that's probably where you're supposed to be.
And you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you've worked in environments where, you know, you were just talking about it. Creativity was stifled. There wasn't a whole lot. You're in this box, and others where, you know, it's celebrated. That creativity is very much celebrated.
Yeah.
For you, what did those contrasting experience kind of teach you about the kind of work culture you wanted to build for yourself and the people down the road that you wanted to work with?
That's an awesome question. And it's like, when you ask what someone's Roman Empire is, I was like, this is my Roman Empire. Like, I just feel like we all deserve to feel creative and like naturally free and in tune with who we are. And like, yes, I know that's not realistic for every workplace.
No, but it makes life so much more fun.
It does. And it makes things easier. Like people do better work when they are free to be themselves and free to be creative. And like one thing that I've learned along the way is that there are some work environments where that, you know, comfort and psychological safety is very clearly there. And there's others where it isn't. Like people are afraid to speak up. They don't want to share their ideas. They're nervous about being judged or laughed at, or that their boss is going to be like, not really. Like, we're not really going for that. And like, then you're like humiliated and you want to go home. And so I feel like when I have experienced places where creativity was welcomed, I was excited for meetings. I was excited for brainstorms. I was excited to hang out with my coworkers. Like everything in the workplace for me changed for the better. And when I was in environments where it was very rigid or very structured, or maybe when leadership or teams had like a very, I'll say like old school traditional way of doing things and weren't really open to new ideas, it gave me a lot of anxiety, honestly. And I was like, I feel like I have to fit all of my ideas and my work to fit someone else's vision. And like, of course, that exist in any role. Like you can't just
Yeah.
be doing your own thing all the time. But
Yeah.
I very much felt physically like suffocated
Yeah.
and constricted.
Yeah.
And it made me, not as excited to go
Yeah.
to work or like wake up in the
100%.
morning and commute in New York when I was doing that.
Yeah.
Like why, your purpose kind of gets lost
Yeah.
in that, at least for me.
Yeah. I'll even say right now, like I went through a sort of transition over the summer where I transitioned out of a company that I've been with for 2.5 years to a brand new company. Same industry, but it was one where the company that I'm with right now moving exponentially faster, but I just was up in New York to meet my boss for the first time in person and meet some of the teams, go into the office. And I was like, I absolutely love this. Like, I love it. And everybody's like, well, how are you liking it compared to your last one? I'm like, I can't even begin to describe to you how night and day.
Yeah.
I said, I am so much happier now than I was with the company that I've been with for 2.5 years.
That's great.
And it was one where my boss, she's like, you're the expert. I'm going to look to you.
Yes.
And it's incredible because where I had been beforehand, my job, everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
Everybody has an opinion about social media, thinking that they're experts. But it's so hard to do that inside of a business that you've got so many voices and you're having to pivot and change every other week. Yeah. Here, I'm like, I have people who are giving their expertise and who I'm relying on and collaborating with, but ultimately, like the dollar ends with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much more fun.
Yep.
It's so much more creative. It is so much more that they're up for it, that they're up for ideas and they're up for doing things. And they've got people who, and I'm like, this for me is, I mean, I couldn't even describe to people how much happier when you're in a workplace that you love.
Yep.
Like, I want to get up and go to work now.
Exactly. It changes everything. Like you said, night and day. It's like, it's completely different. And when you were speaking just now, I also was hearing like, there needs to be a sense of trust and also autonomy and empowering people to do the work that they enjoy and that they're good at. And when you try to fit everybody into a box, it affects the entire workplace. And I think that's like the same for all of humanity, relationships, friendships, like give people permission to be who they are and give yourself permission to be who you are.
Yeah. It's hard too when you're constantly making changes in leadership or you have so many people coming in and out. You're like, I need some stable ground. Like, give me stable ground, give me stable direction, whatever it may be. It goes back to that trust of like, we've got to be able to understand each other and understand that when I'm hearing you say something to me, I know that you're telling me the truth. I know the direction. I can trust you in that. That makes a world of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like open communication, like, trust and everything goes up from there. Cohesion, better culture, more support. It's also more productivity for people who love like that, I don't know, ROI. They're like, I need to know that this is productive and helping our company. It's like,
is this worth
help.
the hours in my day?
Exactly. Like it will help when you are able to be happier at work.
Yeah.
So who knew?
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Exactly. I want to dip into like how your training in clinical and counseling psychology changed the way you understand things like motivation, burnout, ambition, especially in really high achieving spaces.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, if you think about like your typical high achieving space, whether it is a corporate company, I mean, really anywhere. Like I saw it a lot with college students as well. When I was a student, like we all were trying to achieve and do things, and it's very stressful. But when I was in graduate school doing clinical and counseling psych, a lot of our training was in we had the individual side of psychology, but for me, what was very interesting was when we did group work and I would get to lead sort of these simulated like group therapy sessions and then group workshops. And I think something that like stuck out to me about that was that everyone's on their own journey. Everyone has things that motivate them. Everyone's different. Yeah. So it's like there isn't this one size fits all fix to burnout or stress management, but it's like figuring out what it looks like for each individual person. And for some reason, when I was in, I don't know, those group environments, looking at everyone in the circle, I'm like, wow, like we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to be well and trying to be healthy. And we need to figure out just what that means for each of us and how we can also encourage each other, like to, be better and be healthier. But yeah, it's very interesting because I think psychology is often very focused on the individual, but we forget that when we care for ourselves, it also spreads. There's this ripple effect, and other people can then see, like, oh, that person was burnt out, but they're making decisions to take care of themselves. Like maybe I can do that too. And I think a lot of us tie, like we were talking about earlier, from a psychology perspective, we tie our identity and our worth into our work. And so, when we get laid off, for instance, or our role changes, or we find that we're in a new work environment, that can feel very destabilizing for people because that's like their identity and maybe their sense of worth and their confidence and their self-esteem. So there's so many factors that play into it. But I think from like looking at like a stress and burnout perspective, it's woven in our culture. So we have to not only try to attack it, so to speak, from the individual lane, but also as a collective too, and just start to change the culture as well.
I want to hop into your keynote speaking because now you speak confidently to rooms of thousands of people, but confidence is something that most people like struggle with, or they've got it. What did learning to use your voice actually look like behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, my journey to keynote speaking too was a total surprise. I just want to like tell everybody because I'm like, I feel like it's a very hot job nowadays. Like it's very buzzy and you're seeing like all these people pop up as keynote speakers, which is great. Honestly, that's great. But I found my way in that totally on accident. I was like doing workshops and things like that during COVID and getting asked to present to companies. And I really liked it. And it was all virtual. And then I found my way in this industry. So it's been really fun, but I definitely didn't always have the confidence as a speaker. And I thought it was kind of funny because I grew up as a theater kid. So technically I was on stage in a lot of ways. And like, people were like, oh, you've been, a singer and like you are acting on stage, like you'll be totally fine. But when you're up there and it's just you and your voice talking and like hundreds or thousands of people out there, it can be really intimidating. For me, finding my voice is a constant journey. I don't think it's like I found it and now I feel better. But it has gotten easier with repetition, like the more I'm in front of people. And also just like really deep inner work as well. I don't know that I was always, maybe I like am perceived as confident by other people, but I think it takes a lot of work. And I mean, I'm in therapy, I get coaching, I ask for help. I definitely have nerves pop up still. I've been doing it for years. And like, there are still moments where I'm like, I can't believe this company asked me to speak. Like what could I possibly say? That's going to like change their life in an hour. But I think sometimes, honestly, I like kind of hate the phrase fake it till you make it. Cause usually we're a lot more prepared than we think. And we're not like completely faking anything. But I do think there's a level of, I'm just going to do it that like really helped me find my voice. And it was like also being willing to be humble and be willing to fail. Like, I know that's a charged word, but I mean, not every speaking engagement I've had has been amazing. Like it's like,
totally,
sometimes you have students who are on fire, like they're clapping and they're crying tears of joy and they're lining up after the session to talk to you. And you're like, wow, this is awesome. And then like, sometimes, half the room is asleep because it's 8:00 in the morning and they just had their finals and it has nothing to do with me or the person on stage. So I think like the confidence piece and finding your voice, I see a lot of speakers get up there and their confidence will depend on like the audience reaction or the how much attention they're getting on social media or
it's
something.
the energy that they're getting back.
But it's like inner confidence. I think for me it's like I can't control the external circumstances of any speaking engagement, but if I can come in grounded as possible, then like I feel more confident. And I also feel more confident when I'm prepared. So it's like I've noticed my anxiety and stage nerves pop up when I don't feel prepared or when I like didn't practice the day before or something. So I think that's another like practical thing that's helped me find my voice as well.
I think it's really funny that when you look back as you're a kid, like the home videos, the kids who are like turn into being on stage or doing things like that. You're like always wanted to be in front of the camera, always wanted to be on stage, always. And it's so funny to see how those things like they've been inside of all of us since we were 4 or 6 years old. You know what I mean? Like, and now we're grown ups and we're like, oh, our little self was kind of telling us what we what we truly wanted to be doing.
Absolutely. And like that's such a great point, because I always encourage people to think about their younger self. And it's like, what was the stuff that you liked to do when you were, I don't know, 5 or 6, and you weren't worried about your GPA or your LinkedIn profile or like any of these things. And we didn't have social media. Like, what were you doing? And I think back to the kids I grew up with in my neighborhood here in North Carolina, like we would stage entire shows and like invite the whole street. I'm like, what were we doing?
Yeah.
Like, who was coming to these shows? But, but also it's what a beautiful thing to like not be afraid or not be like, oh, that's cringe. Like we just loved doing that. So I love that you brought that up, because it's so true.
No, but it's like, but to your point, it's like my dad's side of the family, it's 4 of us cousins. And we have 1 boy cousin. The rest of us were females. And so every Thanksgiving we'd all get together, whether it was here in Raleigh or up in Michigan, and we would choreograph dances.
Yeah, it's the best.
I hope those tapes never see the light of day.
I love that.
But it's
maybe they'll emerge.
There are photos, and the photos I will allow. But it is those things that you're like, God help our parents had to sit and watch us do this. But we so loved it. Like, it was our favorite thing. We got together, we picked the songs, we just tormented our boy cousin through all of this and everything. So it is those things that you're kind of are going through. You're like,
Exactly. And it's like sometimes the breadcrumbs were leading you to a place, and you're like,
I am not going on Dancing with the Stars or dancing anywhere like that. I will tell you that for sure. But yes,
you never know. I would support you.
I'd actually have to have a left and a right foot to be able to
coordination
dance like that. I'm like, I'm a runner, but I'm like,
hey, that's like coordination too.
Outside of going forward, the whole side to side plane doesn't work real well for me.
Totally get that. I know. Like, I love dancing, but it's not my art. So I admire dancers. I'm like so amazed by them.
Like, beautiful.
Great. Exactly.
Good job, everybody.
It's so
Good
true.
Job.
Oh, I love that.
As a Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Chinese woman, how has your identity shaped the way you tell stories?
I love this question. So yes, I am, to clarify for the listeners or viewers, my dad is Puerto Rican and my mom is Chinese Jamaican. And so some people listening may know this. Not everybody usually does. So I'll just explain. Like, there is a small but mighty group in the world of Chinese Jamaican people. They're amazing. And history, we could get into all that another time, but it's very interesting, because growing up, I like had this mixed identity that I knew, but I didn't fully come into or feel comfortable claiming until I would say later in life, maybe like in college or after that. Like, it was always just part of me, but like when you grow up mixed, it's such a unique experience, because especially, I mean, I grew up in North Carolina. At the time, there were no Puerto Rican, Jamaican, or Chinese people around me. I don't know about now, but it was just very different. And so I was super aware that, my family had different traditions and languages and accents and food, and everything was just a little bit different than like my friends whose houses I was going to.
Yeah.
Not good or bad, just different. And I think it's impacted my storytelling, because I like to think of myself as someone who can welcome anyone into a room, regardless of their, ethnic or cultural background, their personal beliefs. I think it shaped my worldview more than anything, because growing up in a house where there were different beliefs and ways of being and like cultural norms, like my Puerto Rican side and my Chinese Jamaican side are very different, sides of the family, and their, values and spirituality, like everything is different. And so I kind of had to unpack that within myself when I was younger, and I'm still on that journey of unpacking it. Yeah. But I think when I tell stories, I also try to have a sense of humor and like just invite everyone into the room and let them know that they're welcome to be there, regardless of what journey has led them here. I like to think that it's helped. And I think, I do tell stories about my heritage specifically, but then even in stories about mental health and when I experience burnout and stress, it's like we all experience that. But if you are a first gen mixed individual who grew up in a place where you didn't see people who looked like you, and you maybe had pressure to be a doctor or a lawyer, or those stereotypes that we think of, like, that's important. That's like a key part of the story. So again, like, even if you're not first gen or mixed cultures, like I think that can apply to a lot of people. So I like to think it changed my worldview and maybe made me more empathetic growing up. So yeah.
I think it does a lot. We talk about it so much now these days, the households we grow up in and the people that we grow up around, it really makes a mark on you just in terms of how you kind of see the world and who you sit down with. I grew up with such a mixed bag of people that it was like, part of the reason that I love doing this and having this venue is because as kids, we always grew up and we sat around the table and we heard from so many different people, different walks of life. And I think it makes life. I think that's just the easiest way that I can say it. It makes life really interesting. It makes life look different. Like, you're kind of are just seeing people and seeing things in a different way. And I think it just makes things so much more fun too, because you get to hear from so many different people. You get to learn from so many different people, because no one person has the same walk of life, and you get to hear that and you get to take that in and you get to learn from it, and you look around at how people are being treated and you take it with you so you can try to make a difference as well.
Absolutely. And to anyone listening to, like, your story is so important. Like, you might think that there are elements of your story that, I don't know, maybe aren't important, but like, everything can have an impact if you have an urge to share it. Like, I think about my speaking journey and my heritage, and there have been so many times where I've visited a college. So I speak at a lot of universities, and I'll visit, college or university in the Midwest somewhere where I've never been before. And like, I might be the first Puerto Rican or Jamaican Chinese person that like an audience member's ever heard of, and that's really humbling, because you're like, wow, you're learning from my story, I'm learning from yours. And at the same time, like, I've never been to their town, I don't know their history. So it's really interesting, like, what happens when you start to own your story. And like you said, sitting around a table with people of different walks of life, that's so important. And I've been in environments where it's clear that has not happened, and it's to no fault of anyone, but I think the more diverse perspectives you can surround yourself with, and the more stories you can hear and share, like, your world is just going to expand in such beautiful ways. And 100%. You learn from people who are different than you, which is very, very important too.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been traveling quite a bit.
Yes.
Have we hit all 50 states?
We have not hit all 50 states yet, but we are close. I should count one of these days, because I think my last count was like a few months ago, and I'd be curious what it is now. But we've got a couple left. I think Montana we haven't been to.
Okay.
Alaska.
We're manifesting some of this right now, so we can
manifesting. Yes.
Yeah.
I think Montana, Alaska. I think Arkansas is one I haven't been to.
Okay.
Maybe Alabama. There's like random states, but I feel so lucky, because a lot of states I visited, I don't know that I ever would have gone, because like 100%. My job has brought me there, but I might not know anybody that lives in that state. Yeah. So I feel very, very lucky. But yeah, hopefully we'll hit all 50 states. That is like definitely my goal in the next year or two.
Are you a Delta? Like, do you have the Delta American Airlines miles racking up?
I do. Yes. It's funny. Like, I don't have a ton of miles, but I am a Delta girl through and through. Like, I only fly Delta.
Everybody's like, you only fly Delta? I'm like, let me tell you.
Yes.
Once you go Delta.
Yeah, it's hard to go back.
You don't go back.
You don't. And it's like, this year I flew Delta every flight except I think one or two when it like physically was not available for me. And both times I was like, I miss Delta.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry. That's just what I am. But if you build up status, like, for anyone listening, it helps a lot. Those free upgrades help a lot. And like, you gotta, spend money on the flights, but like, if you can do it, and if you're a frequent traveler, totally worth it.
Yeah. My dad growing up, he looked at my sister and I, and it's so funny, because I think now, like, our version of like, oh, you get stocks and bonds and they sit and you get to a certain age. I have now heard parents of like, when my kid was born, I created like an airlines profile for them. And when they traveled, so they've been getting miles since they were young. And I was like, that's
Wait, that's genius.
Genius.
I can't believe I was today years old when I heard this idea. Like just now
I'm like,
from you.
Taking that from me.
That is so smart. Why didn't I think of
Because
that?
I mean,
Like,
we're traveling when we're young. Like I
Yeah.
was traveling at the age of 2.
yeah, so true. I mean,
I'm like,
that's
damn,
genius.
I
Yeah.
could have had a lot of miles. at
yeah,
this
imagine you're
point.
like a teenager and you're like, you have all these
Yeah,
please.
you got a million Delta miles at this point.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone needs to take note of that. If you can do
you
that for your
can.
baby, do it.
if you can do it, even if you're not frequent, if you can just go ahead and set that up.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much.
But I mean, growing up, my dad was like, pick your airline, pick your hotel, pick your rental car,
Mhm.
and I have been true to that. I'm like,
What are
Del-
yours? I have to know.
Delta, Marriott, Hertz.
I'm the same. But the exact same 3. And it's like, I don't know what that says about us, but I like Marriott.
I'm a
I like
Bonvoy
Hertz.
girl.
Yeah, same. And it's like, maybe I'll get your tips on this because sometimes it's worth it. Like I'll get a room upgrade or something, but
Mhm.
usually it's like, I like the snacks and the water bottles that they give me after a long day of travel. I'm
But
like,
for
give me
me,
the water.
like Marriott, like whatever hotel you go into, like they have Renaissance, they have all these different chapters, we'll call it. They're all different.
They are, yes.
Not one Marriott hotel is just alike. So I love that I get to go to a Marriott hotel and New York. There are like 50 of them.
Yep.
And you walk in and they're all different. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah. And I like to, especially if I'm speaking early in the morning, like a free breakfast comes in handy for sure. Because I'm lazy in the morning. I don't want to do
100%.
anything. And it's like, if I can get a little oatmeal or like some fruit, I'm like, I'm good to
100%.
go. Yeah.
100%. I'm like, I like, when I was just in New York, I was like, this is great.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I love Marriott. And Hertz too with
Yes.
the gold board and not having to go
Yeah.
to the desk. I'm glad you understand. like I just
My
need
dad-
to keep it moving.
My dad is Avis, and I did Avis for a little while, and then it just really disappointed me. And sorry,
You're like, I'm
Avis,
going
but
back.
I'm going Hertz,
Yeah. Going back to Hertz.
and I'm like, okay, this is great. We're
I
gonna
love
stick
it.
with this one. For someone who feels trapped by hustle culture, and we've been in this for a long time of hustle culture, but afraid to really slow down, what's one small but very courageous shift you can recommend that actually creates momentum rather than fear?
What a great way to phrase that question. I'm like, a moment for that question. It's clear you're a great interviewer. Because, like, I'm thinking about all the people who truly can't slow down. Like, a lot of my dad's side of the family is in New York. They are New Yorkers to a T.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and I've lived in New York for years, and, like, nobody can slow down. It's really, really hard to do that. They're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not going to be productive if I slow down.
Yeah.
So I was kind of laughing to myself
I
as you
think
asked.
we have a lot of that in us too. Like we were for years in a hustle culture. COVID came and it was like, you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't hustle in the
Right.
or in the same ways that we were.
Yeah. And when we were forced to pause, I feel like people lost their minds. Like
Yeah.
lost their minds in a good and bad way. Like I think for some people, they realized, like myself, when I was forced to slow down, I was actually, I mean, that was like a horrible time for the world. I don't want to
Yes.
take away from that. But
Yeah.
personally, it helped me out a lot because I
Yeah.
was like, wow, there's all these things I've been doing just because I thought I had to do them. And now I have to be quiet and stay inside. And I like returned to my yoga practice and
Yeah.
did all of these things. So I think when I think of this question, I think of like the busiest person I know
Yeah.
and what I would recommend to them. And I would say start with 5 minutes. It's small, but I do think it's really courageous because usually the busiest person you know is not carving out 5 minutes for themselves. Like any minute of the day is filled with something, whether it's scrolling on the phone or caring for your kids or, planning for the day ahead. Or like, I think of the busy women in New York City that I'd always see on the train and like, we're going places, but like
Yeah.
you deserve to take time for yourself. So ideally it's way more than 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
like make an intentional decision to have a couple minutes for yourself every day, whether it's just being totally silent, laying on the floor, like listening to a
me
song.
tell you.
I love a good floor lay, Just
Everybody's like, why are you
wow.
laying on the floor? I'm like, I can't tell you.
It's just so like
When people say touch grass,
stabilizing.
I'm like, this is
Yeah,
my grass.
That's
right
the
here.
touch grass. Yes.
This is me laying on the floor.
Exactly. Touch
love it.
grass. And it's like, go back to the basics. As much as we hate to
Yeah.
hear that advice, like so much of what we're dealing with, I think can be solved from going back to the basics and caring for our health. So even take it a step further and it's like, take a few minutes every day for your health. Like whether it's meditation, whether it's movement, running, music. For some people, it's gardening or like petting your dog. Those things, psychology shows those things actually do boost your well-being and your resilience. So if you're not doing those things, just consider yourself like taking years off your life. I know that's really dramatic, but that's what I think of anytime I have a stressful day. I'm like, I am like not doing well for my longevity and my lifespan right now. I need to go do something good for my health. So
I need to go lay on the floor.
Yeah, lay on the floor.
I'm gonna go lay on the floor.
That's all it takes. And then maybe one day you work up to 10 minutes and then one day it's an hour. And like what an hour can do is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
what does sustainable success look like for you now compared to a year ago, 5 years ago, however many years you want to look back in the start of your career?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It's something I've been reflecting on, the word sustainability, especially because like, it's funny, any job I've had, I've always had a boss or a mentor check in and be like, Tianna, is what you're doing right now sustainable? And what they're trying to say is it's not sustainable.
It's not.
Let me give you a hint. I think for me right now, it looks like being able to do work that I love, that is making a positive difference in the world without being totally depleted. And I won't lie, as a keynote speaker, sometimes that's very hard because I am not Beyonce, but like similar to a musician on tour, you're traveling, you're responsible for getting yourself everywhere. You have to perform, you have to be on for many people. And then afterwards I go back to my hotel or my flight and I like crash. So my energy is like very high.
Up, down.
Very much up, down. And sustainability wise, that does not always feel good. Like it's hard for me to find a balance. So I think I'm trying to find that now. If I could continue to speak throughout the year without it feeling like I'm drowning in my own schedule, I think that would be great. And it's something I was talking to someone about recently. I'm like, what can I do in my schedule to make sure that it's not running my life and that like I'm able to have a sense of control over it. But as a performer or, educator, entertainer, it's sometimes like unpredictable what the season will look like. So I think that's what it looks like for me now. I would just love to be able to keep doing it, but feel energized. I think there were a few years where I was pretty sleep deprived, like going into gigs and would leave one and then immediately, go to Hertz and drop off my car and get on the plane to start my next one. And I still have seasons like that, but it can be really exhausting and jarring. So just trying to rest more and be more intentional with the opportunities I take and make sure that like I'm not wearing myself thin because I feel like I have to.
Yeah. You are your own Beyonce.
Oh my gosh.
Just remember that.
Thank you. What a great phrase. I'm like, I'm going to remember that next time I'm having a bad day. Like, what would Beyonce do in this situation?
What would Beyonce? There you go. That's what Beyonce would do. For you, how has choosing courage over certainty reshaped not just your career, but the way you live your life day to day?
I love the word courage because lately I've been trying to, harness that more. It's funny that you said that word because I've been telling everyone, I'm like, I feel like I need courage. I need more courage. I think choosing courage over certainty, you said, right?
Yeah.
It's made life way more fun and way more exciting. And certainty makes us feel safe. It makes us feel stable or like, I don't know. I know some people who are pretty black and white in their thinking, or they're like, no, it needs to be like this or else this. And I just have always kind of existed in the gray. I know that about myself. And I'm like, well, who's to say that that's the way that thing should be? Like, who's telling you that? Is that your own brain? Is that your parents? Is that society? Like, I think choosing courage and taking steps toward a future that I want has been, it's changed the game for me. And I can't imagine like where I would be if I had been fearful and held myself back from chasing the things I wanted. And I don't know. Sometimes it's funny to look back because I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, I really didn't have a plan for any of this. But looking back and where I've ended up, it's like, I wish that for everyone. I hope everyone can choose courage over certainty. If it's ever like, if the thing that you're dreaming of is lighting you up and you feel like you have to do it, I don't think that feeling's ever going to go away. So if you choose the certain job or the certain relationship or the certain path that feels like safe and stable, you might feel good, but you could feel way more fulfilled if you take the other path. So that's just my thoughts.
I love the life is just more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more fun. And like, we deserve that too.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be so serious. And I think I'm like super career oriented. I've always been that way. But then sometimes I'm like, not everything needs to be about about my career.
Totally.
You know, like what have I gone to the park recently? Like,
Yeah.
can I do something fun? And I even try to do that on my gigs now, like my speaking gigs. And usually I'm there for a day or two max. It's like really quick. But lately I'm like, what's something in town that I can do before or after the gig that's going to be fun and not just like work all the
Absolutely.
time. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I had even said to my dad the other night, like, I think I said it to you, I hadn't been home for a week straight, but I sat down the other day and I got home and I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of want to go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so my best friend and I were sitting here and we're like, let's go do it. Like, we have jobs that allow us to be able to go and do stuff that allow us to go. But I kind of like being on that move, and whether it is going for somewhere for fun or if it is for work, I'm like,
Absolutely.
give me the miles.
Yeah, give me the miles for sure. Rack up those miles. And it's true, it's fun. It's like if you are, flexible, if you're flexible with your
Yeah.
job and you're in a place where you can do it, like travel is another one that I
Yeah.
always say, it's like that will feed your soul and
So
open
much.
so much for you.
Yeah.
And like even just if you can't travel out of your city or state, like do a little
Yeah.
staycation, explore a part of town that you haven't seen
100%.
before. And novelty is really, really good for your brain, by the way.
Yes,
So
yes.
everyone should do that.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny too. People look at me like I'm crazy because I'm born and raised here in Raleigh. Have never left, but it's one where I'm like, I get to travel so many places every year that for me that I still love coming back here. And to your point, exploring the things that I may have a new restaurant that's open that I may have not have known at all that it was open. You know what I mean? Like those types of things. I have community. And so for me, I'm like, I love that I get to go and travel and do all those things, but still come back
Yes.
and see people.
And that's so important to ground yourself too. It's like
Yeah.
something I'm always working on. There were a couple years, especially when I first started speaking, where I was just like riding the high of travel. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really feel like I have a community yet.
Yes.
Like I'm solo, I'm on my own, I'm like running my own business. And I mean, I had like pockets of people all over the country, and my
Yeah.
North Carolina community has always been here. So that's so nice. But in terms of like your everyday, I do think it's important to have that grounding. So
Yes.
that's a great point.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Tianna Soto, I can't thank you enough for being here with me today and doing this. I'm so glad we were able to do it.
This was so fun. What a great conversation. You're awesome. Thank you. This was
Thank
so
you.
great.
I'm so excited we're able to do this. You guys, please go follow Tianna on social. Stay up to date with everything she's doing. She shares where she's off to next. I love it. I'm always checking. I'm like, where's Tianna? Is she somewhere in the air?
That's awesome. Sometimes I forget where I'm going. I'm like, what is my next, where am I going? Such a like beautiful problem to have.
Yeah.
But like from traveling a lot, it's like sometimes your brain just gets fried. You're like, what am I doing? What's my next flight?
I literally had a dream the other night that I like missed my flight, and I woke up. I'm like, am I supposed to be somewhere right now?
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, I literally had fear that I was supposed to be on a plane. I was like, no, not for a couple
the
weeks. I'm
ultimate
like-
nightmare. That and like missing a test. I still get those nightmares. I'm not even in school, and I'm like, I don't have to take
Been out
any
of school
tests.
we've been out of school for a long
for a minute. Yeah, I was for sure. And I'm like, why do I feel like I'm missing an exam? Like there's no exams.
Yeah.
anymore.
You're like, shit. Where am I? Where am I supposed to be right now?
Exactly. Thank you for having me. This was
Thank you,
awesome.
thank you. You guys, this was awesome. Just thank you. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.